Whenever Sora Mukujima falls asleep, he always finds himself in this weird dream realm that consists of nothing but smoke and rubble. The world feels devoid of any life forms, or so it seems at first glance. He spots a mysterious macho man who looks like the Walmart version of Zeus, standing smack dab in the middle of this strange world. The dude directly speaks to our boy, spouting some nonsensical jargon, stating that he'll be waiting for him at the edge of the abyss. Before Sora can make any heads or tails out of this bastard's cryptic bullshit, he wakes up in his bed, his face glistening with sweat. Soon enough, he gets called by his mother. As he's refreshing himself with his morning routine, his father walks out of the bathing area and starts adoring his son like he's still 12 years old. Before we proceed further, here's a little about Sora's family. It's already been 3 years since his brother joined the SDF, and Sora plans on joining in the future himself. And then it'll be time to say goodbye to this lively life he has got. His father is a very non-serious guy who loves fooling around more than anything, while his mother is naturally a strict woman, though she loves them just as much. Sora has no complaints about his life so far, and he could live this idle life until the world ends without any problem. Well, as the narrator, it seems like I spoke too soon, because the world is literally about to end with the appearance of these massive towers, so tall they're tearing through the skies. The presence of these towers feels very, very familiar to our boy, as if they're connected to his dreams. These towers gradually increase in number across the globe, causing even more chaos. His family loses contact with his brother, who was working in the SDF. And when the number of towers hits 20, they even lose TV broadcasts, with radio barely functioning. The shit has gotten so severe that everyone is ordered to evacuate into evacuation shelters. With no choice, his parents pack their bags. Before leaving, they leave a note for their son working in SDF. Just in case he returns home, he'll at least know his parents has departed for the evacuation shelter. By the time Sora and his family arrive at the Gymnasium temporary evacuation shelter, the place is already jam-packed with refugees with no place to call home. The despair on their faces is clearly visible to the mortal eye, but even in the face of a life-and-death situation, there are still scumbags picking on the weak out of habit, just to make their disgusting presence known to the common folks. The bastard in question robs a kid of the only piece of bread he had for the day, and when the kid tries to protest against the injustice, that robber throws a devastating blow into the kid's guts. Literally nobody stands up against this bastard, who not only stole the bread, but is also further mentally torturing the poor kid. Finally, Sora's father steps in and stops this bastard from continuing. That zesty-ass Gen Z bastard only mocks our boy's father, and even goes so far as to throw a punch. But it's this bastard who ends up eating a devastating kick for his troubles, putting him on the ground, a place scumbags like him truly belong to. Sora's father promptly hands the piece of bread back to its rightful owner and throws the thug a disdainful glance. The thug turns out to be smart enough not to mess with this gigachad of a father, and walks away with the last bit of dignity he has left. Looks like Sora has some history with this bastard. His name is Eiji Kagawa, a lowlife who used to take pleasure in humiliating our boy with his goons. Suddenly, a soldier comes rushing in to deliver an emergency report. Everyone in the shelter is ordered to leave and get into the trucks stationed outside. The reason for these abrupt orders remains confidential, but it would be in everyone's best interest to follow the command. Of course, some people start protesting, wasting time arguing instead of making a move. Out of the blue, someone suddenly starts banging violently against the front door. Sora instinctively knows that shit is about to go down, so he pushes his parents in an attempt to escape. The soldier who delivered the message tries his best to hold the entrance gate. But the poor guy's strength isn't enough against those monsters, who blow away the door and the soldier along with it. Every bastard who was protesting against leaving this damned place is now running for their lives toward the exit. Sora starts to fall behind, unable to match his parents' speed, while all the people rush into the truck stationed outside. And not long after, every truck is filled, leaving no space for more people. Sora ends up one of the unlucky guys who didn't make the cut. His father, however, grabs his hand in an attempt to pull him into the truck. But those zesty-ass selfish bastards behind the father refuse to take his son in, saying there isn't enough space to spare. Eventually, Sora opts to get into a different truck, leaving his concerned parents in the other one. Most trucks are already full, except for the last one in the queue. But before he can get to it, the damn thing starts speeding off. Even then, Sora manages to cling to the speeding truck. To make things easier, someone extends a hand to help him up, and that helping hand turns out to be from that bastard Eiji Kagawa, who's looking at our boy like a beast that has cornered its helpless prey. Instead of pulling Sora in, that bastard pushes him off the truck. Poor guy falls to the ground and ends up getting stomped and stepped on by the other survivors scrambling to catch a ride. He lies there curled up, begging for someone to help him out of this ordeal. His prayers are soon heard when that discounted Zeus from his dreams appears right in front of him. That bearded bastard once again spouts that same nonsense that he's waiting for our boy at the edge of the abyss. And just like that, Sora's surroundings change, transporting him into a completely different realm. Suddenly, a goblin throws a devastating strike with its stone axe, which Sora barely dodges by a hair's breadth. That bastard of a goblin follows up by throwing his axe back at his prey. Once again, Sora narrowly dodges the life-ending strike. though he ends up with a nasty cut from the close call. This damn disgusting creature is like a man on a mission, continuously attempting to nail Sora with that axe of his. Bro's life had already been complicated enough, and now he's got to deal with this shit. Here's a little throwback. First it was that gigantic tower that popped up out of nowhere, and then that scum who tossed him from the truck. And then there's that mysterious bearded bastard who hasn't done anything other than add extra suspense with his bullshit lines. And now this goblin is dead set on splitting Sora's head in two. But my guy had enough. He grabs that rock he had been eyeing for a while and smashes the hell out of this disgusting green guy. Sora suddenly notices a letter mark engraved on the goblin's chest, likely representing the creature's rank. Then, some crystal-like thing begins popping out of the monster's chest, directly targeting Sora's chest and getting inside his body. Surprisingly enough, that thing didn't mean to harm him. On the contrary, the scratch he got over his face from the goblin's axe starts to heal. Not only that, but he can also feel this newfound strength coursing through his body. He doesn't have to think too hard to figure out that he basically leveled up after beating a stage, just like the mechanics in video games. He grabs the goblin's axe and decides to scout the area first to avoid any ambushes from these sneaky little bastards. A while passes, but Sora finds nothing even after doing a full round. There's literally nothing. The place he's been transported to is just a floating island with a broken and demolished building structure. There are also these stairs going down. Since he doesn't have any other path to traverse, he eventually starts descending these deadly stairs. One wrong step and he's going to fall fast. Usually terrain like this is prime monster territory, and you'd respawn if you fell off of it. Though, bro's not going to fact-check this theory by literally jumping off. He might find his game over for real. Eventually, he braves through this macabre staircase and finds an entrance leading deeper into this floating island. Sora takes every step with caution. Once he reaches the central area, he sees a tombstone, and the entire area is lit up by a fire torch. Surprisingly enough, he can literally understand the scripture written on the tombstone, even though this language is totally alien to him. According to the information written, Sora is instructed to collect fragments, and only then can he earn the right to leave the abyss. This puts a smile on his face for some reason. The fact that the monster he just defeated was weak as hell means breezing through this abyss won't be that hard. So, it's only a matter of time before he bails out of this place for good. He finally opens the doors that lead to the second stage of this twisted game. The first layer of the abyss was an area of 900 square meters, so the number carved into that monster's body was 1. After defeating the second layer, he learns that this place is located on 1,800 square meters, and one of the monsters has a 2 carved into it. Similarly, the third layer is double the size of the previous layer, and only one monster out of 4 has the number 4 marked on their body. The important thing to note here is that fragments can only be acquired from the monsters bearing numbers. Unless you acquire the fragment, there's no way to advance to the next layer. Furthermore, it goes without saying that the further you go in layers, the stronger the monsters become. Since the land size of each layer is multiplying with each level up, finding the key is getting harder and harder. Not to mention, the number of monsters is also multiplying, and this hard mode survival is only making him even stronger. Bro's been grinding the layers for so long that he literally grew to look like an unemployed coomer. Even the variety of monsters started to increase as he continued to ascend the layers. And on the 12th floor, he encountered the monsters that had attacked the shelter that day. With all the strength he managed to gather through his journey to this 12th floor, these whiny bitches were no match for his absolute strength and were dealt with in seconds. After the 13th floor, the sheer number of monsters he faced started to feel like an absolute challenge. But Bro plowed through everything his way, as if these monsters were nothing but disposable sandbags. By the time he got to the 13th floor, the number of monsters had reached a whopping 500 million. So finding the keys was like finding a needle in a haystack. Some of the key-bearing monsters were protected by groups of monsters, while others hid in small caves. The most annoying thing in his endeavors was the amount of time it took him to kill every single one of them. But no matter what, Bro kept moving forward. Finally, he reached the 42nd layer of the abyss. The number of monsters was so massive that if we were to collect all the monsters from every manhwa into existence, you still couldn't match the amount of monsters present here. Basically, there are more than 2 trillion monsters, and each monster isn't just an average Joe. These critters are capable of soloing entire towns by themselves. But after fighting all the monsters on the previous floors, Bro had gotten totally obsessed with killing monsters. He didn't even resemble his former self. He fought those 2 trillion plus monsters for years, so many years that he even lost count. But he had no choice but to eradicate all 2 trillion monsters, because it's only then that he can find the fragment he's looking for. Finally, he encountered a monster that was way more horrifying and fiercer than those regular ones. Seeing that big cheese made our boy grin from ear to ear, looking like he was about to finally get the fragment he had been grinding his ass off for. That monster might have seemed tough, but Sora shredded it into pieces like it was nothing. Bro's gotten so powerful that the feeling of power lost its meaning. Though the sad part is that the monster didn't contain the fragment, meaning he still had a long way to go before he found it. Before we go any further, let's catch up on what's been happening so far in the real world. In the 21st century, 20 towers suddenly appeared all over the world. Before humanity could figure out what was going on, monsters poured out and nearly wiped everyone out. Most people were slaughtered immediately, and it was dubbed Judgment Day. A handful of survivors awakened and gained access to a mysterious system. Those who awakened were granted overwhelming powers. This became the catalyst for humanity's restoration, with the awakened forming groups called hunter guilds. Now, let's cut back to our boy, who's chasing down the last monster left in this current layer after slaughtering countless others. Suddenly, mana chains start engulfing the monster, and it begins ascending into the sky, like it's trying to escape this place. An unknown voice warns our boy not to let this monster get away, because this monster is being summoned by someone who just used an advanced transfer scroll in order to summon a monster, and this monster has been selected. This advice makes our boy realize that this is his only ticket to escape this damned place. So before the monster can escape, he jumps right into that enchantment to chase it down. A bunch of status windows suddenly surround him, each flashing warnings about the abyssal summoning not being able to transfer more than 2 living beings. But our guy is dead set on getting out of this place, and nothing is going to stop him now. Meanwhile, just outside S City on Earth, we see a damsel in distress running for her life, with someone chasing her from behind. Her name is Yu Sonozaki, a level 19 awakened. She looks like a mage class awakened, judging by her appearance. As she runs through the rough terrain full of wild, her foot gets stuck in some roots, causing her to trip. Looks like she's officially screwed, with those thugs chasing her finally catching up. They demand that she hand over the advanced transfer scroll, especially since a level 19 rookie has no business possessing a level 60 scroll, which her fragile body can't even handle. Either she hands it over, or the big guy won't hesitate to slay her on the spot. This big guy is Choji Shido, a level 35 swordsman, and the woman beside him is Aika, a level 34 druid. This lady Aika tells his friends not to kill their prey. Yu Sonozaki also reminds them that 2 hunters engaging in combat is strictly forbidden. But these bastards don't seem to care about the rules. Shosei Toshida, a level 38 barbarian, is ready to make his own rules if she doesn't hand over the scroll. If she complies, they might let her live out of mercy. This is when the lady decides to turn the tables by threatening them with the scroll. If they don't step back, she won't hesitate to use it. Aika, who is against the idea of killing her, changes her mind and instructs Choji to subdue her at all costs. The barbarian goes full berserk mode, swinging his blade like the madman he is. But the woman disappears just before that giant sword can split her in 2, saving her from getting wrecked. Yu finally uses that forced summoning scroll, much to these bastards' horror. You see, forced summoning can bring forth an advanced monster that can't be controlled. Basically, this lady just triggered a suicide bomb with her own hands. While she's going to die, she's taking these assholes with her. The bastards quickly dash toward her, hoping to intervene at the last moment, but it's already too late. A lightning strike descends from the sky and summons the monster. Well, this monster looks familiar. It's the same one our boy has been chasing. Since it's only a level 3 mutated wolf, the guys start laughing their asses off because this monster isn't the destruction type they were expecting. But it looks like these shitheads are about to get the biggest reality check of their lives. The monster they were mocking is instantly obliterated by our boy, causing everyone to lose their shit in terror. They mistake this Giga Chad for a bloodthirsty humanoid monster. Even the scroll lady has no clue what the fuck she just summoned. Meanwhile, our guy is absolutely overjoyed to be free. The excitement takes over, and he's the only one laughing like a maniac while everyone else is shitting their pants. The intensity of his laughter is so massive that the goons can't even flinch. His presence feels like a tsunami about to devour them. He then literally blurs toward Aika, and with that manic face, he asks her to confirm if they're on Earth. The hesitant woman says yes, which sends a rush of dopamine straight to his brain. The 2 muscleheads in the party still don't get it and lunge at their own demises in order to prove how powerful this party actually is. But their weapons simply break into pieces as soon as they hit his strong skin. At this point, those muscleheads realize they've seriously fucked up. For them, he's just a literal monster. Meanwhile, our boy, who's been fighting monsters all his life, starts hallucinating. His brain registers this musclehead as an orc monster, and instinctively, he asks the monster to show if it's a numbered monster containing the fragment he's looking for. Of course, the poor bastard has no idea what the hell this maniac is talking about. Suddenly, Sora snaps out of his hallucinations and drops the guy. The bastard is so terrified in our boy's presence that he literally pisses his pants. It's pretty humiliating for the boss of the pack to be pissing himself in front of his party. Sora gives the muscleheads the chance to scram if they value their lives. Predictably, all the whiny bitches run off in opposite directions to save their pathetic lives. The only person left behind is the summoner of this beast. She takes note of the horrifying scars and becomes curious about who this person really is. For a moment, she wonders if he's a demon summoned through the transfer scroll. Sora then turns his attention to her, asking how many years have passed since the towers appeared. She surprisingly responds that it's only been 5 years. He then asks her a bunch of questions, and she starts rattling off all the details of everything that's happened here so far. You see, the system awakened in humans, and the outside world changed a lot in those 5 years. She was trapped in the abyss. The S-City just suffered its 7th major invasion by the demons, and she barely managed to escape. The mention of S-City jogs some memories for Sora, as it was his hometown. He then interrogates her about Imai City, and she reveals that the city is already in ruins, though she's hoping the hunters who went there can bring the city out of its darkest times. He then asks her for directions to get to S-City from their current location. She points in a certain direction, and Sora instantly vanishes, leaving her to walk her own path. This encounter with this mysterious guy wasn't something you see every day, so she decides to report it to her higher-ups, specifically her lady Onisama. Let's not forget about those whiny bitches, who barely save their lives. But it looks like they're on a streak of bad luck. Some unknown entity appears right in front of them, blocking their path. This mysterious figure can sense the presence of our boy in the party, so he gives them exactly 3 seconds to rattle off all the details they know about Sora. Of course, 3 seconds isn't enough to process all this crazy shit going on, so none of them manage to say anything. Once the time's up, the mysterious entity slaughters everyone on the spot, just as it promised. We cut to the Tower Frontline Guild, Tiger's Roar headquarters. There, a secretary reveals grim news about how those 4 guys seem to have met their end, with their signals completely gone. Meaning, they have no clue where Yusa Nozaki went with the transfer scroll. The boss, of course, doesn't like hearing news that doesn't align with his ambitions. He's annoyed that all those highly buffed gorillas couldn't subdue a rookie woman. The secretary grimly reveals that the party's signals vanished all at once, which can only mean they were annihilated by a single blow. This angry guy is Rich Mukai, a level 118 Storm Priest. He orders her to investigate the person behind the party's demise. And no matter what, he wants her to capture Yusa Nozaki and make her reveal every detail about the mysterious guy who killed his muscleheads. This dude seriously doesn't tolerate anyone laying hands on his men, even if his men are little idiots. It's then that he catches a glimpse of our boy through the building window, who just jumped past him. That overwhelming presence and sense of hostility is absolutely insane. He wants to know who this guy actually is. What's even more surprising is that this unknown person is heading straight into the already fallen zone. He also takes note of the tower in Sea City, which had been dormant for 5 years, finally making its move. He knows for sure that shit is about to get real, and his gut feeling has never betrayed him. We then cut to the S-City Fallen Zone, where Sora can be seen eyeing the desolate, monster-infested city that he once called home. In the last 5 years, while he was stuck in the abyss, this place turned into literal hell. Those excruciating 5 years transformed him from a weak runt into the strongest guy one can become. His senses are numbed, and his sense of time is totally lost, which caused him to become a beast himself. But the only thing that kept a bit of sanity was his family. The monsters he once feared are now just small fries to him. He's dying to meet his parents, and the only brother he has left. Zooming in on the state of S-City, this was once a place that was teeming with life, but is currently reduced to a destroyed land thanks to the destructive wrath of the monsters. Not even a single building maintains its original appearance, as Sora expresses his confusion that there aren't any monsters killing people. It's as if the people have totally evacuated this location for good. The powerful warrior hesitates to unlock his door, and has become so strong that the door literally pops into his hand. Entering inside, his once beloved home is nothing of what it was. Sora suspected the place would be empty but wanted to come anyway. This is the only place that contains all of his joy after all. Suddenly, his eyes darted towards a piece of paper resting on the table. The message regards Sora, and it's actually from his parents, who believed that their son was alive even after 5 years of his disappearance. In the end, they were waiting for him to come back, refusing to believe that he was dead. It crumbles Sora's resolve, especially when his parents rearranged his favorite clothes and kept all of his favorite items exactly the way he wanted. They even left him a map to the same safe shelter that they left for. His parents only request that he come find them upon reading the note, as they refuse to believe that he's dead. Holding a picture of his shattered family, Sora crumbles unlike his determined self. He grabs a blade and decides to give himself a quick little haircut, questioning his ability to end the apocalypse all on his own, hopelessly wondering if that will be enough to return things the way they were before. Anyway, this dude basically looks like a carbon copy of Sung Jinwoo with Kaneki's hair. I bet you weren't expecting that crossover, and neither was I. His next destination is Shelter 6, as Sora wants to regroup with his parents using the map they left behind. Unfortunately, he's got a messy route up ahead because of the toppled buildings. Instead of finding another route, this tough guy thinks it will be much easier to annihilate everything in his path instead. And so he does exactly that, carving a path ahead and demolishing an aerial monster with a single attack. What's more, is that he goes on to lunge from one location to another, releasing chaos all over the place. Even the nearby survivors are like, what the fudge is going on? Until they see a dude flying with light speed over here. The funniest part about this sequence is that one of them actually caught our boy in 4K. They can't believe that it's an actual person bolting that fast from building to building. While he's doing that, underneath, a girl is being harassed by a bunch of scumbags. These guys haven't ever seen a woman in their lowly existence, so the very sight of one makes them go batshit crazy. By the way, this dude seems like the same guy who threw our boy off the truck 5 years ago. The dude literally creeps up on her with a disgusting remark and starts ogling her figure. But Sora steps in with a murderous glare, calling them a bunch of trash. This man literally took a detour from meeting his parents just to kick their asses. That's how you know they're about to get cooked. Anyway, they try to use the jumping curse technique from Jujutsu Kaisen, but this man is Sukuna with the way he is bitch slapping everybody, and I mean that literally. Sora dodges another dude's attack and knees him in the face, and what's surprising me the most is how this guy's head didn't just pop off. Bro is probably using 1% of his power here. Anyway, the leader of the scumbags tries to abuse the "whoa, I'm from a powerful guild" card, which won't work against a main character that rivals the edginess of Shadow the Hedgehog. To make it even better, our boy reminds Kagawa the bastard that he's back from the dead after his little attempt to kill him. As you can expect, Kagawa's facial expression is as if he's seen a damn ghost. Of course, just like the coward he is, the best he can do here is plead for mercy. Our boy lets out a laugh before grabbing the idiot's neck. Sora emphasizes that he had to endure literal hell just to return the favor upon his return to the one responsible for his demise. Jesus may forgive and forget, but this man ain't doing any of that as he crushes Kagawa's throat, reflecting that he's going to strip him of his dignity and his life. Behind him are the voices of the thousands of monsters he's slayed, all worshipping him as the strongest being and encouraging him to kill. The thing about Kagawa is that this dude has it coming from every angle. He didn't just betray or bully Sora one time, no. It was a constant agonizing lifestyle that Sora had to live through. The humiliation and the feeling of helplessness is still fresh in his memories. So now, as he's choking the sheer life out of this guy, Sora believes it's time to repay it all back with some added interest, of course. Kagawa used to mouth off about how enjoyable the experience of bullying someone as weak as Sora was to him. But suddenly, a part of humanity rises to the warrior's surface as he lets the scumbag go, forcing Kagawa to value his every breath. It wasn't actually a change of heart, but rather a decision not to become someone that he despises the most, because then they would be no different. At the same time, recalling what Kagawa tried doing to the woman, Sora is of the opinion that this nuisance will only continue to harm others in the apocalyptic landscape. So he tells the puny bully that he's not going to kill Kagawa, but at the same time, it would be foolish to let the guy be freed without any consequences. Our boy emphasizes the hellish school life that he had to endure all because of one man's existence. He thinks it's only fair that Kagawa gets to eat a bunch of his punches for preying on the weak and also attempting to take his life. So in typical Sung Jin-woo fashion, Bro gives him an ultimatum of enduring 4 simple attacks from him. And if he does, he can go off without any consequences. Of course, even Kagawa thinks that's a ridiculous idea as his brains will be splattered from the first punch alone. Grabbing him by the collar, we get a beautiful shot of Sora pulling his arm back for a punch. Holding back basically all of his power, our boy smashes his face with a hook into the ground. But it's not over yet as a second brutal punch quickly follows after the first one. But our boy's satiation for revenge isn't over as he goes for a third punch, basically dog-walking his little victim over here. As Sora stands like a god before Kagawa's pitiful state, he pleads to be killed already with the amount of pain he's already sustained. Sora responds with a kick in his damn face, plummeting him into the ground and making a mess out of him. The end result of this battle is brutal for Kagawa. Not only did he shatter all of his limbs, but he's also completely lost his vision. As for his lackeys, Sora strictly orders them to get Kagawa immediate medical attention and never appear before him again. Saying those words, he leaps away, having taken care of his little detour. It's time for him to concentrate on getting to his main destination at the shelter. The scene cuts to the buffer zone of S City, where a bunch of soldiers are regretting not being assigned wall duty. Why? Because their current post of fighting off monsters is much scarier and riskier than a simple watch duty. Their leader reminds them to stay sharp because there's no telling when a monster will pop out in front of their faces. This is the first Lieutenant Tanji Kagura. One of his subordinates is the private Shoki Matsura, who objects by saying that monsters rarely even show up in the buffer zone, so they've got nothing to worry about. But the universe just hates this guy because just then, a freaking child of Kraken appears out of the blue and begins attacking the soldiers. Tanji recommends they maintain their formation and rain heavily on the offensive fire. But the hardened shell of the creature is just far too thick for any of their weapons to do any meaningful damage. The creature is also a whopping level 45, so it's not like they have a lot of options here. Retaliating with its own strike, the monster prepares to kill them all. Afraid, the lieutenant recommends his soldiers to spread out to avoid the attack. But the monster is so shockingly fast that it immediately slices one of the soldiers in half, causing another one to get provoked and rain down bullets. While they're busy shooting the monster down, one of them carries a box and runs towards the creature, hoping to narrow some distance with the distraction. Coming close in contact with the monster's oddly shaped eye, the soldiers are astonished when the child of Kraken simply stops attacking them. The creature appears dazed, a reaction mirrored by the soldiers as well. The lieutenant suspects that it is afraid of an incoming threat far more terrifying, and so the child of Kraken reacts in unusual ways, shielding itself and drawing away, much to the surprise of the soldiers. But using this as an opportunity to exploit the outcome, they release the box full of explosives close to the creature's face, resulting in a gigantic blast with the monster's body going up in flames. At this point, the soldiers are praying that it is dead, but when the dust settles, the monster appears to be unscathed from any notable injuries. With their one and only chance ending up in pathetic failure, the soldiers basically accept their demise. Suddenly, Sora makes his crash landing out of nowhere, squashing the monster's face, much like Bulma crushed Yamcha's feelings in Dragon Ball Z. The lieutenant puts two and two together and realizes that it's this terrifying human that scared the creature in the first place. They can't believe their eyes. This guy just annihilated a monster in a single attack. Even S ranks with that kind of power were few and far beyond in their world. Moreover, they've never even seen Sora's face before. The lieutenant wants to find out more about him, so he tries to activate his appraisal or inspection skill. But to his shock, the system tells him to shut up because it can't even fetch Sora's information. The backlash of merely trying to inspect his information results in the lieutenant becoming dizzy to the point his subordinates are worried. Meanwhile, Sora has no idea what's going on and simply asks one of them a question, inquiring the distance left for Shelter 6. He learns that it's actually 50 kilometers up ahead, but in order to get there, one must traverse through the nightmarish Area X region. It's the first time Sora's heard of such a name before, so he learns that it's the area responsible for holding off the monsters that are concentrating in one place. Many hunters are actively fighting in that zone currently. Our boy also notices that upon killing monsters in his world, the hunters are able to receive various rewards collected from its corpse. It's no different than the idea of a game. Just to gauge the current power scaling system, he asks the soldier how powerful the Child of Kraken monster would be according to ranking. The soldier tells him that it was a 45 level opponent, so it's not an easy thing to beat. But Sora's a bit disappointed, underwhelmed that such a low level is able to pose them so much trouble. So he wonders about the number of monsters that are similar to that level in Area X. The soldier responds despairingly by revealing that the number is over 100, because if they were in the number of thousands, humanity would be finished by now. Sora's heard all he wanted to know, so it's his cue to leave now. Mustering his courage for one last request, the soldier wants him to go to Area X immediately. They need all the help they can get, and a hunter as powerful as him could help prevent many atrocities. Of course, it's not like our boy could avoid Area X anyway, because the shortest path to Shelter 6 already covers it. So he agrees to the request and expresses that he'll also annihilate any monsters that have the unfortunate encounter of getting in his way. Shifting the perspective to the frontline rear military camp, we get to see that the lieutenant is finally awake after the battle. And no, this isn't another "whoa, he was unconscious for 3 days," cliché like always. This dude was only out for 10 minutes, and luckily they managed to snatch the recovery potions from the monster too. As for the guy who saved their group, the lieutenant learns that Sora went to the north, causing him to accept the situation at first, until he realizes the craziness of what he just heard. His subordinate explains that the mysterious man intended to visit Shelter 6, which means he's going to have to get past Area X to get to his desired location. But the shocking part is how Sora didn't even seem to care. He merely advanced without fear or hesitation. Because bro is built differently, that's why. Anyway, the lieutenant finds this situation to be of utmost urgency and orders him to contact the command center. In his mind, the lieutenant internalizes how it's only been 10 minutes, so maybe it wouldn't be that bad. The message to the command center is quickly forwarded, but his subordinate just doesn't get why they're hastily informing them. To that, the lieutenant explains that this operation carries a different nature from the previous. It concerns classified information, so it's natural for them not to know. The thing about Area X is that it's actually not the region where they're supposed to hold back monsters at all. Rather, it's a pure bombing zone. The scene transitions to the central command center, where one of the operators reports that they've received an emergency call. The central commander Renji Kumagaya accepts the call, and so the operator puts them on the line. The call is from Lieutenant Kajura, who has an urgent report to make, informing them of a mysterious hunter who is headed for the bombing zone unknowingly. The report isn't met kindly as the central commander merely puts the blame on the lieutenant's shoulders for his mistake. But Kagura clarifies that he's made an emergency broadcast to inform the mysterious hunter. He has reason to believe that this hunter is extremely powerful, so they want to ensure his survival. The commander learns that the mysterious hunter is strong, but that's a baseless claim, so he asks for the guy's level. Unfortunately, not even the lieutenant can answer that because he failed to inspect his profile. This leads the commander to believe that the lieutenant is making rubbish claims for allowing a hunter with an unknown level to head right into the bombing zone. He simply can't allow an emergency broadcast to be done for such a case, as even the secretary believes that he'll die before the message gets out. Commander Potato over here laughs in the lieutenant's face for being hilarious in his demands. At the same time, he turns his attention to his colleague and expresses that his subordinates are acting rather problematically, to the point where Fatso over here wants to report to the higher-ups about the operation's current state being halted by his colleague. The woman in charge is actually the Western Command Mi Tonosaki, and she's shocked that Commander Potato is ready to bring down his own group just to sink her ship as well. He's nothing more than a clown. While she's brainstorming how Kagura would never try to vouch for a stranger's support unless he really trusted his gut. This makes her wonder just how powerful the mysterious hunter truly is. The lieutenant is at his wit's end and waiting for a response while the Western commander ultimately comes to her decision, and with the power of her two big personalities, trusts that Kagura doesn't hope to disrupt their plans. She's ready to carry out the request, but if it turns out to be an obstacle, she's going to ensure hell for him. Tanosaki actually said all of that to gain support from Major General Potato, who is pissed but ultimately demands a reason to follow through. Kagura immediately brings up the fact that this mysterious hunter was able to one-shot a 45-level monster. This revelation comes as a serious shock to Tanosaki, who suspects that the mysterious hunter could be a secret S rank from the military. At the same time, Commander Potato finds it unbelievable as all the S ranks are currently busy, so they pry for information about the guy's level and why Kagura wasn't able to use his inspection skill to know about it. The lieutenant explains that he tried doing that, but to everyone's shock, he simply couldn't access the data. And right after using the skill, it was he who suffered the drawback of losing his consciousness shortly afterwards. But this only points to one thing to Kumagaya, and that is that the mysterious hunter's level is beyond the likes of 100. This puts them on edge, and though he's intrigued by the man's strength, Kumagaya believes it's not a compelling reason for them to release a broadcast. Stepping in to agree with his claims, the Eastern commander Nobuo Yuasa expresses the same, believing it would be risky to do that. After all, thousands of troops were already mobilized in a collective operation across the multiple zones. Their original goal for the bombing zone was to get the troops to finish off any lingering monsters that had sustained damage in the zone. However, should they release an emergency broadcast now, the creatures will sensitively react to the sound and start charging in a singular location. That would inevitably mean the end of the area in one fell swoop, and over 10,000 soldiers would lose their lives in an instant. The risks for saving one life are just too high in exchange for thousands of their soldiers. Even if this guy is supposed to be some powerful S rank. His words leave the lieutenant in a despairing end, hoping for Tanosaki to step in. But after a while of contemplation, she opens her mouth and fully rejects the lieutenant's request, believing that it is reckless to operate in this manner. The decision is made final and the call is immediately ended, adding to the hopelessness of the lieutenant as he grips the device with anger. He tried doing as much as possible, but unfortunately, things didn't go his way. But suddenly, his subordinate spots the keys on his buckle and quickly snatches them away. Before Kagura is even able to express his shock, the man is seen leaving to board his vehicle. 6 minutes are left until the bombing takes place, so he thinks that's enough time to do something about the situation. Even after Kagura's orders, Shoki Matsura continues to rebel and steals the military vehicle to operate autonomously. This could seriously end up with major consequences for the guy later. But Kagura doesn't want to waste the effort to chase after him either, believing that as a soldier, his subordinate made his own decision. Meanwhile, Matsura is stepping on the pedal to reach the mysterious hunter as fast as possible. The only thing that Matsura didn't know at the time was that the same man he was trying to save was one day going to become the hope for all of humanity. Matsura's efforts are in vain because he just can't seem to track down Sora. The mere fact that he's been unable to track the hunter down is more evidence that this guy is even faster than his vehicle. Area X is right up ahead, so he wonders if taking the risk of blasting his speakers would be a good idea to attract attention. Unfortunately, that comes with the added risk of luring the monsters. But Matsura is determined and goes balls deep in this operation. He calls himself a disgrace to the military, but honestly, with the way this man has been moving lately, that's a true soldier right here. Gripping the microphone with hesitation, he finally unleashes a full-scale warning to inform the hunter about the bombing zone and requests immediate evacuation. Currently, Sora is busy annihilating monsters, and he actually gets to hear the warning, realizing that must be the reason he didn't spot any hunters. The monsters are trash comparably, but surviving a damn nuke isn't going to be an easy thing. So he chooses to be safe, and also realizes that he simply can't let the soldier die. After all, Matsura risked his own life just to get him a message. Unfortunately, the monsters are already targeting the poor guy in the car because of the sound, so he goes full pedal to reverse his way out. But he's terrified knowing that the hunter is still out there and hasn't exited the bombing zone, until Sora surprises him by popping out of the blue and asks for clarification regarding the message. Unfortunately, time's up already as the bombs begin to drop like rain from the sky, demolishing the bombing zone with endless destruction. The debris flying out from the shockwave towards them is actually stopped by Sora, who didn't even need to exert much strength to block. As for the fat Major General, he receives full confirmation of the successful bombing. Next, he wants an update on the state of the monsters for further actions. Using drone intel, they confirm that there aren't any signs of life for humans. But for the monsters? In a horrific twist of fate, they manage to survive the bombing and not only that, appear fully unscathed. This is disastrous news to the Major General and the other commanders. Tanosaki requests an immediate update from the drone feed. The operator uncovers the footage and they're stunned to discover that the creatures actually managed to create a defensive shield to protect themselves against the blasts. What's more is the appearance of a silver-haired man, appearing like a carbon copy of Sora. The footage is cut short as the monsters ended up destroying the drone. Godzilla's cousin over here disrupted their communication completely, causing Tonosaki to question what the hell happened. She reaches a sudden enlightenment. The monsters were aware of being monitored via the drones, which means they know what's coming next too. Yuasa, the Eastern commander, calls for an immediate evacuation of the soldiers from the garrison area. It's imperative for them to retreat all at once to maintain the walls. But to their horror, the operator continues her report, stating that the monster's target isn't actually the walls, but something else. Tonosaki demands to know what, until the operator reveals that their target is Area B-22, the same location where the mysterious hunter faded away. Sensing urgency, Tonosaki issues an immediate order for their drones to be sent to the same location to know what became of the monsters. The scene cuts to the perspective of Matsura, who can't believe that the bombing ended with him still being in one piece. Yes, as a mandatory ritual of this channel, the One Piece is real. He's just glad to be alive, while Sora reminds him he's celebrating too early because the monsters are still alive and they're likely coming to target them. Suddenly, Sora saves Matsura's life as a drone comes crashing their way. Even the private is shocked how it came here, and wonders if the monsters are responsible for attacking a drone, which is unheard of. Sora is unfazed and spots a horde of monsters coming their way. Matsura, on the other hand, is losing his shit because they're up against creatures all over level 50. They're practically the strongest monster group with their colossal leader spanning a monstrous strength of level 90. And the fact that they didn't even endure a single scratch means the end for humanity. Matsura is busy accepting his doom while Sora has other ideas. He believes that if the bombing didn't kill these bastards, then he's going to make it his personal responsibility to put them in the grave. Leaping away, he tells the soldier to go on hiding. Sora pierces past the monsters like they're cardboard to him and targets the colossal leader. The monster tries to pummel him with one of its attacks, only to be casually caught by our boy who doesn't even flinch. Next, he proceeds to lunge forth, targeting the monster's face and going for a roaring charged punch. The attack connects and literally takes off the giant's head with a single strike. But to Sora's shock, he runs into the same cloaked figure that was reviewed on the drone footage. The shocking part is that Sora couldn't even sense this mysterious guy's presence. Now, he looks basically identical to his long hair version to me. The cloaked figure seems to have some kind of monster transforming ability. And oh my god, the way he resurrected the giant and they're both deviously glaring at us is such a bone-chilling panel. Anyway, he calls Sora the seed of the abyss and demands to take back what is his own. But our boy has absolutely no idea what this guy is even talking about. The cloaked figure simply smiles at him and expresses that he must pay back the crime of stealing another person's power with his own life. Then, a bunch of spears erect from the ground, but they're clearly not strong enough to pierce Sora's skin. He thinks this is going to be way too easy if this is the level of strength he's up against. The giant attempts to squash Sora with his hand. Meanwhile, the cloaked figure spots another drone and wonders if he's being watched. As for Sora, he didn't even attempt escaping, and simply caught the hand with one hand. He calls it a pathetic attempt, and believes it's going to take a lot more than just that to kill him. Saying as much, Sora leads with a spear and connects the attack. But to his shock, the man disappeared into thin air, only to reappear in a different location. The thing is, he chose to disengage the fight because he doesn't want the humans to monitor them. Finding annoyance in the measly drones in the skies, he gestures for one of the monsters to bring it down. Next, he orders every single creature to take care of every survivor in the area. The drone was actually being operated by a guy who is hiding in secret, but thankfully he completed his one and only mission of reporting back the reason the monsters changed their course. It's all because of one man, the one who took care of the strongest monster group in the bombing zone by himself. The guy wants to inform his commander when suddenly one of the creatures discovers his location and destroys its way inside. The vile figure lets out an evil laugh, relishing in the joy of the deaths of the annoying humans. Seeing the situation, Sora is reminded of the request that Matsura made to him upon their initial encounter, not to mention his deed of risking his life for a message. The soldier is currently struggling to get his vehicle operating again. Sora chooses to disengage with the battle, believing that the right way to end a monster horde is to target the leader first, and in order to save the lives of people, one must kill as many monsters as possible. The colossal creature attempts to attack him, but our boy blocks the attack, reflecting how the monster's strength has incredibly increased after merging its power with the cloaked figure. Also, the same dude pops out from his shadows out of the ground, but only this time, Sora is freaking astonished that he's looking into a mirror version of himself. The mysterious figure unleashes a powerful sword of darkness, and just from the looks of it, even Sora can tell that this is troublesome. His opponent makes his advance, attempting to kill the seed of the abyss, but luckily our boy dodges the swing and returns it by not only crushing his opponent's hand, but also grabbing his very own dark sword. With this, Sora unleashes a clean swing to cut him down. Unfortunately, his opponent disappeared elsewhere before the attack could properly connect. Sensing the power of the dark blade, Sora has a bad feeling because it matches the energy of the abyss. Provoked by the act of Sora stealing his blade, the cloaked figure calls him a thief who doesn't have anything to do except steal others' power. But our boy quickly realizes that this fight won't be easy to finish in one blow, and his current priority is to get the soldier someplace safe. So he asks if Matsura is okay with heights and literally freaking carries his car. The cloaked figure attempts to unleash a goddamn death ball on him like Frieza or some shit, expressing that the purpose of the strong is to become the strongest instead of protecting the weak. The attack is then released targeting Sora, who realizes that it's way too fast for him to try and outrun it. So he lets the car down and decides to confront it head-on, pouring in his energy into a single punch. And though the attack connects, the sphere simply disintegrates and reveals its true core at the center. Unfortunately, while he was busy dealing with the attack, Matsura's car was attacked by a bunch of shadow tendrils. Sora urgently tells him to get the hell out of the car, while Matsura is afraid for his life. To his horror, the spikes fully pierce the car from every direction, implying that the soldier couldn't make it out alive. The cloaked figure reminds Sora not to act hastily. After all, he made sure not to kill the soldier. Instead, he makes a goddamn puppet out of the guy, disrespecting Matsura's corpse with his necromancy skill. The figure wants to make sure that Sora gets to feel the horror of losing everyone important to him, a fate befitting the seed of the abyss. In response, the scene reminds him of Kagawa bullying the weak back in high school. It's no different than an oppressing force merely making entertainment out of the weak. Sora's opponent unleashes a violent obsidian storm, consisting of extremely fast projectiles that manage to graze Sora's skin. But this man is done playing around, remembering just how disgusting people like him truly are. With a single punch, Bro destroys the spikes holding the vehicle up and even catches Matsura. But unfortunately, the soldier is nothing more than a zombie at this point, shooting him a demonic glare and punching him with dozens of strikes. Sora simply traps him inside the vehicle and feels immense guilt that an innocent bystander ended up getting dragged in this mess. Finally, his attention turns to the culprit responsible as he lunges forth with a powerful punch. But just like last time, his attacks aren't connecting against his opponent's odd composition skill. Dragging another dark sword out of darkness, he berates Sora for being unable to harness the true power of the abyss. But in the middle of his yap festival, Bro eats a punch in the goddamn face and gets sent flying. He still thinks the gap between their power levels is far too much. To protect his master, the colossal monster jumps in. But what's astonishing about the cloaked figure is how Sora was able to connect the attack. And not only that, he's about to beat his ass again with another strike. Just from seeing Sora's monstrous movements, his opponent realizes that the seed of the abyss has actually unlocked his true power. Sora vanishes and pops out from his blind spot to finish the guy off. But luckily, the mysterious opponent leaps away and escapes the attack. Sora tells him that though he's confident in his escaping skills, the same can't be said for the colossal giant, whose body is severed clean with a single strike. The immensely powerful strike may have sliced the creature's body, but it's no use when the shadow tendrils simply reform the body again. That's why Sora takes a different approach of hunting down the main core and strictly targets the most vulnerable parts of the monster. He's able to sever the monster's connection with the core, finally causing the definitive death of the giant as it is vanquished into ashes. With the giant down, Sora locks down on his main target and believes it's time to end this battle. The cloaked figure finds himself cornered and attempts to unleash his Shadow Unity skill, which essentially acts like a siphoning skill, sucking the life force out of all the monsters in the nearby area and pouring it inside of him. Okay, now that just sounds sus, doesn't it? Anyway, the violent energy from the monsters is so intense that Sora's clothes are having a field trip kept intact. The entire sequence results in an anticlimactic ending as the technique was simply used as a means to escape rather than to become strengthened. Sora is just glad that his parents' picture is alright, and this ripped guy goes on to check on Matsura's condition. Unfortunately, the soldier wasn't as lucky as him. So to honor him properly, Sora takes Matsura's dog tag and gives him a proper burial, believing that he will carry on the hopes of the soldier. As for the creepy figure he ran into, there's lots of things bothering Sora, and he has to be ready at any moment going against an opponent who uses the power of the shadows. What's more is that he left with a thrilling note that he will make sure to kill everyone Sora holds dear in his life. This means that no matter what happens, our boy has to make it to the shelter as fast as possible. So using his super speed, he bursts away to get to his destination. Some time passes, and eventually the Western commander and her men end up arriving to investigate the location properly. They're searching around for any clues or survivors, but to their shock, the entire fleet of monsters is already long gone. The Western commander confirms this fact upon seeing the corpses of the giant monsters, and urges them to make an immediate report. She also reflects that it's clear a battle took place between the mysteriously strong hunter that Kagura mentioned. The man not only was able to withstand the effects of the bombing but also destroyed the entire fleet of monsters alone. Bro is a one-man army at this point. One of the soldiers suddenly reports that they've found a working memory card of the drone which will help them gain an understanding of the situation. Deciding to review the footage, she spots how Matsura and the mysterious hunter entered the dangerous field. As the soldiers are continuing their investigation, they're speechless upon discovering incredible drops that came as a consequence of defeating high-level monsters. It's not something you see every day. Even the soldier who discovered the loot is greedy and acts like he didn't find anything special. But his colleague ends up swooping right in and learns that they've managed to find quite the impressive loot. The fact that one of their own tried to steal the loot is an act of crime. Hearing that, the soldier tries to offer a solution by offering a division. In response, the blonde guy states that he only wants the mystical golden box and nothing else. But it's not something easy to give up since it could be a legendary item. To help the Mr. Nose Strip's understanding of the situation, the blonde guy reminds him that he doesn't have the position to object. And that's how he ended up getting his hands on a legendary golem relic. Having reached the 6th shelter at last, Sora sees the survivors functioning well, surprised that they're not under any attack. All of them are shocked when they see a goddamn 12-pack having a shredded guy walking up to them. But Sora's just lost in his thoughts, knowing that the cloaked figure can mask his presence. Not to mention that he's yet to sense the presence of anyone particularly strong, because if someone like that doesn't show up, this place will be suffering major losses in case of an invasion or an attack. Suddenly, a guy confronts him out of nowhere wearing a band-aid. Wasn't expecting the son of Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen and Raiden from Mortal Kombat to come here, but here we are. The blind man assesses that Sora must have been from outside, expressing his relief upon Sora's confirmation. He assures our boy that there's nothing to worry about as he's only here to purchase information for a price. All he cares about is about Sora answering a bunch of his questions. At first glance, our boy is confused that money is still seeing its use. He agrees to comply but stops the man before he asks any questions. Sora wants to know why a monk is out here addressing him by royal standards, which means this guy is probably a fake or a cosplayer of some kind. Which turns out to be true as it's nothing more than a hobby to this guy. Sora then asks if the same is true for his eyes, causing the dude to visibly panic. He takes off his blindfold and expresses suffering from a recent eye disease, but that's not the point. The fact is that Sora could sense a terrifying light coming from his eyes, even with the blindfold on. Bro really is Gojo's son at this point. He thinks the blind dude has a reason for concealing his own power, but it's clear that a really powerful guy is hiding in the shelter. Anyway, he's happy to answer questions. So the cosplaying monk asks about a retelling of the events outside. The blind man knows that many soldiers are gathered at the walls, and though most of the public is unaware, there have been explosions outside, so he wants Sora's perspective. Deciding to take an easy route of appearing clueless, Bro switches personalities and explains that he just made a run for it and came here. The confession makes the blind guy astonished because he knows that Sora is also concealing his power like him, but he's happy to find him sharing this much and simply leaves. Sora is surprised that he could easily fool the guy just like that, and wonders if there are many powerful people like him in the world. The fact that no one's calling him into question yet is also concerning, which makes him wonder if the humans are weak at their current level. After visiting the clothes store, Bro ends up dripping the heck out with the cash he took from the monk. He goes back to his initial goal of finding his parents with the old-fashioned approach of asking people around, so he casually walks up to a woman, requesting if she's seen the couple. But the moment she lays her eyes on the photo, she is horrified and feigns ignorance before running off. Sora doesn't know what the hell happened and finds himself baffled by her reaction. It's almost like everyone in this area has their guard up, so he decides to ask a random dude next. But with the way Sora is glaring at him down, the dude is intimidated and reminds him that this isn't the old times, so they should settle their affair with their words. Sora simply pops the family photo in his face and asks about the family group. Again, the man is horrified to see the people in the photo and asks his relationship to them. Sora reveals that he's actually their son, which is clearly ridiculous because of the difference in appearance. To the point the guy starts loading his fists because he thinks he's being played with. Suddenly a truck comes out of nowhere and literally tries to run over our boy here. But Sora stands unfazed and stops it without even looking back. He doesn't care about the truck and goes back to asking the dude some questions. Seeing our boy casually stop something charging at him without batting an eye, the nose strip over here switches personalities and shares directions down the road. Sora decides to leave and thanks him for the help. The dude waves at him back before bolting in the other direction to inform everyone about his existence. As Sora is walking to the place, he wonders why a random guy has knowledge of his family's home. Then again, his father was the social type and had a good interaction with everyone. His mother was like that too, and because nice people get taken advantage of in their world, Sora vows to protect his family this time. At long last, he arrives at the edge of the street, standing before a gigantic house. It almost surprises him to find his parents living here. Sora decides to knock and immediately recognizes his father's voice. But when the guy opens the door, Bro is shocked seeing a guy looking like a yakuza glaring at him for randomly barging up at their place. Sora tries to explain that he's actually their son, causing a chill to run down his father's spine in shock. The dad stands there stunned, like his side chick just showed up at the front door. Despite the shock, they both step inside, glancing at each other in complete silence, neither uttering a word. Thankfully, Mom comes to the rescue with a tray of tea, breaking the tension just enough to let things start flowing. Wasting no time, the father gets straight to the point. He notes how different his son seems, almost like a completely new person, though he admits that it might actually be an improvement after all. Maybe the kid's hiding something. Father is scared that the boy might be an imposter himself, so he even kept a guard in his room just in case. What they don't realize is that the boy already knows. He clocked the hidden guard the moment he walked in, but rather than panic, he actually feels a bit relieved. At least now he knows someone's keeping watch. As the father pushes harder, trying to extract secrets, Sora decides to teach him a lesson. He starts revealing all the things he knows will make the old man squirm, like the times he snuck out to attend soy boy ballet and cooking classes. That alone stuns the security guard. The father turns beet red with embarrassment, still unable to believe this is really his son. To drive the point home, Sora casually mentions that the so-called sacred family sword they've kept for generations is just a replica. That comment alone makes the father's nerves twitch even worse. Then come more juicy details, one after another, peeling back the layers of the man who always claimed to be a towering figure. The security officer starts realizing the truth that this guy talked big, but most of it was just smoke and mirrors. That's all his father can take. The tough act crumbles, and he instantly rushes towards Sora, eyes welling up with tears. After turning every stone, chasing every lead, and exhausting every contact to find his missing son, the old man finally breaks down now that Sora's home. When Sora casually mentions the henchman, the guard realizes that the father he once knew, who handled bloody fights and shady business, is actually a total pookie at heart. The henchman, shaken by the truth, decides to make a run for it, but the boy catches him before he even reaches the door. Now the poor guy is seated at the table, getting a not-so-subtle warning to stay silent about everything he just heard. As the pressure builds, Mom steps in once again, saving the moment with perfect timing. Meanwhile, the father silently thanks the heavens that Sora didn't expose his farting habit. With all this chaos, Sora finally feels it. This is what home is. But peace doesn't last long. His father's men arrive in a panic, nervously reporting about a white-haired troublemaker who just came back to town. At first, the thieves fail to notice Sora sitting with their boss. But once they do, one of them nearly has a heart attack. Nervous and stammering, he starts warning him that they're in a group and he shouldn't try anything. But before he can finish yapping, Sora, in a flash, grabs his knees, nearly making him pee himself on the spot. To calm things down, the father steps in and reveals that the boy is his long-lost son, missing for 5 years. He's about to mention Sora's level, only to freeze, realizing he doesn't actually know. Kind of like my dad who has no idea what class I am in. Our boy steps in and casually reveals that he doesn't have a system. This stuns the thieves. Everyone knows that no matter how hard someone trains without a system, they can't go beyond level 10. They start thinking he must be weak. But then confusion sets in. This same guy just blocked a truck, something a level 10 shouldn't even dream of doing. Noticing their doubt, Sora offers to let them check his info directly using their system. The thief starts yapping, explaining how monster levels work and how the inspect skill isn't available to low-level hunters. Luckily, his father has the skill, so he steps up to test it himself. They gather around the table, with the boy calmly standing beside his mother who proudly claims that she fully believes in his strength. But when the father uses the skill, the system throws back a result. Unknown. Everyone's stunned. It could mean Sora has no system, or that he's too powerful for the scan. The first theory is quickly ruled out as his name still appears. However, surviving 5 years alone in conditions no beginner could handle pretty much says it all. This moment makes the father realize his perception simply can't comprehend the level his son has reached. As the room stays frozen in shock, it's the mother who finally breaks the tension. Just happy her son is home. She knows he must have suffered a lot, living like an alien for 5 years. The moment she places her hand on Sora's face, the memories come rushing back. The torment, the pain, everything. And just like that, tears begin to fall. The whole atmosphere turns heavy, emotional. Wanting to give them space, the father quickly escorts his men out of the room. Once things settle, our boy gently asks his mother about Riku, his older brother. Thankfully, she assures him Riku is doing well, still serving in the military. She even offers to set up a call, but explains he's currently fighting on the front lines. Hearing that, he admits he misses his brother and curiously asks if his mom holds a high status too. She nods, revealing she's a healer, known as a cleric, with powers strong enough to give prophecies. Sora, intrigued, asks if she can check him, but she turns him down. Still, she shares that her cleric powers once gave her a prophecy, that he would return one day. Not long after, a buff vice chief shows up, flanked by men in black, ready for business. Sora's father greets the man with open arms, referring to him as Jiro, the vice president of his united guild. But he quickly notices Jiro's long face and asks what he found. According to the vice chief, the Tiger's Roar Guild has ties to the army. He explains that a collector from the military, a real piece of work, started nitpicking during inspections of the monster carcasses the guilds handed over. He gave them half the points while reporting full credit to his superiors. A deeper check shows all the discrepancies traced back to Tiger's Roar. Hearing this, Sora's father knows something bigger is going on, but also knows they can't just sit back and let it affect their town's future. He tells the vice captain to rest, then summons his sword and decides to visit Tiger's Roar himself, to remind them the united guilds aren't pushovers. Meanwhile, Sora hears everything from his room. His strength has boosted his hearing, and now he realizes the bully he killed, and his men, were connected to Tiger's Roar too. But his father's decision to confront them personally makes him uneasy. As they prepare to leave, Sora requests to join. His father introduces him to the vice captain, who immediately asks Sora's level. When his father admits he doesn't have a system, the vice captain grows concerned. Without a system, Sora wouldn't last more than 3 days out there. He'd be dead weight. Respectfully, he suggests Sora stay home and rest. His parents agree. However, Sora realizes he still looks like a normal person to everyone else. If a strong monster shows up, he'll have to hide his powers while still protecting his parents. So, for now, he agrees to stay back. The gang leaves with fire in their eyes, clearly not letting go of their grudge against the Tiger's Roar Guild. Seeing Sora a bit down, his mother gently reassures him. She says it's all for his safety, and that she always sees visions where his father returns home safely. Sora, knowing the guild's connection to the military, suspects things are only going to escalate. He asks his mother about Tiger's Roar and their grudges. She explains that his father started their guild to cooperate with the military, and it grew quickly thanks to its team of determined professionals. The guild handled looting, monster cleanup, and helped keep peace for 4 years. But things changed a few months ago when Tiger's Roar moved in and set up camp near their shelter. That's when the conflict began. The army leans on Tiger's Roar to clear the tower since they're strong, so no one dares challenge them. They also have awakened members chosen by tower constellations, called Ezras. The power granted by these constellations is nearly divine. Anyone who passes their trials receives that power, and Tiger's Roar has the most Ezras. Meanwhile, her own guild has none, which makes things even harder for them. After that info dump, she urges Sora to rest and freshen up, even offering to wash his back. Once she leaves, our boy uses his detection spell to locate the exit, then casually jumps out the window to go help his father. Meanwhile, even after seeing that, his mother doesn't stop him, just smiles and mutters that children are being children. Sora's father, Sakuya, is heading toward the Tiger's Roar Guild with his own guild members. Meanwhile, watching from above, Sora notices everything around the center is pitch black, which oddly helps him locate the place more easily. But then, dizziness hits him. It's strange, considering ever since the Abyss Fragment strengthened him, he hasn't even caught a cold. Suddenly that eerie voice returns, telling him there's no escape. He looks around, confused. He can't sense that guy from before nearby, which means the man was in Shelter 6. Another dizzy spell hits. The voice repeats, saying he's already marked his soul. When Sora punches where he sees the man's head, it turns out to be just another illusion. As the voice echoes on, spotlight beams suddenly shine toward the rooftop, alerting Sora that he's been noticed. He realizes his loud shouting gave him away and makes a run for it. After landing on another roof, he realizes that the strange feeling returns. This makes him wonder if it disappeared because of the light shining on him. To give it a try, he stands under a streetlight, and it's gone. That's when he realizes that even just 7 seconds in darkness is enough for the soul mark to activate and bring that strange, dizzy feeling. And since only he can see it, acting weird in public would just make him look like some anime fanatic ghoul. However, when he walks under the light, a weird noise starts ringing in his head. But the mark disappears, and the visions stop. With that, our boy realizes it's the light that's been protecting him during the day. But now that it's night, that creepy figure from before could launch a surprise attack. He knows he needs to be careful, and he needs to find his dad. As he walks the streets, muttering to himself and getting weird looks, a passing car confirms it. He really does look like a lunatic. Our boy also remembers his dad might be in danger. The United Guild seems useless to the military, and going up against Tiger Roar could bring serious trouble. Thinking about it, Sora becomes determined to protect his parents at any cost. Lost in thought, he reaches the place where his dad's group is said to be. His mind drifts back to his dad's words about settling things without violence, and he wonders if he'll actually stick to that. But his thoughts are cut short. He spots his dad's teammate standing in front of the building, calling for his father to draw his sword. Without hesitation, the man swings it with brutal force, shouting a name, Tsuchida, to step forward and face him. The swing isn't just a challenge, it cuts through the entire building, leaving Sora in complete shock. Seeing that, our boy walks up to one of the guards, casually asking if their boss has always been like this. The guard, standing tall, proudly confirms that the boss is always this aggressive, always starting fights. Sora recalls how the boss had once mentioned sorting things out without violence, but the guard quickly corrects him, explaining that a lot has changed since then. According to them, the military doesn't bother with these fights anymore. It's quicker to handle things their way. As he processes this, his mind drifts back to the monk, who had a quiet strength about him, but avoided showing his true power. Just as he thinks of him, the monk, Yukio, appears atop a building somewhere near a military camp, overlooking a massive fallen monster. Yukio's sharp eyes scan the creature, recognizing the monster's high level. But what really catches his attention is how easily someone seems to have taken it down. It's proof that there are still some truly powerful people in the world. Back on the streets, the silence is broken by a loud bang. Tsuchida storms out, furious at Sakuya for causing such a ruckus. Sora's father greets him with harsh words, but Tsuchida, clearly unbothered, challenges him outright. If he wants him gone, he dares him to kill him. Hearing the challenge, he is instantly provoked, drawing his sword with a sharp motion. Meanwhile, the big guy is gritting his teeth in fear, desperately praying for someone to intervene. He knows Sakuya has been pushed too far. As the trash-talking continues, Sora's father steps forward, launching an attack with a swift swing. But before his strike can land, it's intercepted by a glowing constellation shield. It's all a setup, though. The tension builds as Osamu from the military steps into view, shocking the members of the United Guild. Sora's mind races, wondering what the military guy is doing there. He can feel the heavy presence of many people inside the building, and the situation suddenly feels much bigger than it seemed. Meanwhile, Osamu slowly walks towards his father, pointing out Article 15, which clearly states that fights are prohibited in shelters, and offenders could even face the death penalty. It was all a setup designed to provoke Sakuya into getting arrested, and once that happened, they could easily make him disappear into custody. But Sora can't understand why the military is getting involved in something like this. On the other hand, Sora's father is trying to de-escalate the situation, denying any wrongdoing. He insists he wasn't fighting, claiming there's no proof to back up any of the accusations. Osamu doesn't flinch, pointing to the slash mark on the building as undeniable evidence. But Sakuya, ever the quick thinker, spins the situation, lying smoothly that he was just renovating the building. The military guy isn't there to take no for an answer. His mind's already made up. With zero hesitation, he gives the signal. In an instant, soldiers start appearing everywhere, peeking out from windows across the building, guns up and locked on Sakuya. Seeing the tension rise, Sakuya's men urge him to fight back, ready to take on the military squad. But he stays calm, eyes fixed on the military guy. The guy's no pushover. He's an assassin, level 63. Taking him head-on could get messy. But then Sakuya spots Tsuchida and quickly figures he could use him as a hostage to break out. He quietly draws his sword, but the big guy sees it coming and immediately raises his shield, confident that it can block an attack even from a level 65 warrior like Sakuya. As things get tenser, Osamu ups the pressure, warning Sakuya to surrender or risk losing his comrades too. The boss pauses. For a moment, it looks like he's about to go all out. But then, to everyone's shock, he lowers his sword. He chooses to give in. The United Guild members are stunned, especially the vice captain, who starts questioning whether that earlier sword slash was just for show. But the captain knows better. He and Sakuya have that kind of chemistry. He knows that when the boss drops his sword, it's actually a signal to prepare for an attack. And just as the sword is about to touch the ground, Sakuya suddenly charges at Tsuchida with full force. At the same time, the captain in the back begins channeling a spell. The big guy is momentarily caught off guard, but still confident that his shield should be enough. But then the captain's magic erupts beneath Sakuya's feet, lifting chunks of rock into a rising platform. In a flash, he stands on it, gaining height and momentum, and strikes with full power, catching the big guy completely off guard. The attack shatters his shield, sending him crashing to the ground with a heavy thud. Meanwhile, the vice captain keeps using his spell to cover his flank, while Sora's father charges in recklessly like a madman, triggering the soldiers to open fire. Acting fast, the vice captain throws up a barrier spell, an earth wall, just in time to isolate Tsuchida and Sora's father from the hail of bullets. However, as the boss is about to grab Tsuchida and retreat, he suddenly freezes. Osamu flashes right in front of him and snatches Tsuchida away in an instant. Turns out, the assassin had marked lingering magic on the broken shield, and had been hiding in the wall shadows with his stealth skill. It catches the boss completely off guard. With their hostage gone, Sora's father seems completely lost, and that shocks everyone. Even the soldiers freeze up, calling out to Osamu in confusion. But he doesn't get it at first, until he turns around and sees what everyone else is staring at. It's Sora. He's standing behind them, dark energy radiating off him in heavy waves. Osamu immediately realizes that whoever this is, it's not an ally. Without hesitation, he pulls out a poison bottle, one reserved by Tiger Roar for taking down level 90 bosses. He leaps forward, tossing daggers at Sora while flooding the area with thick purple smoke. Sakuya's eyes widen in panic for his son as the poison fog spreads, while Tsuchida breathes a sigh of relief, thinking the poison might at least take down Sakuya's ally. But then, out of nowhere, Sora appears behind them, grabbing both by their collars with his monstrous grip. It's then they realize they're not fighting a human anymore, but a monster.